and welcome to the penultimate video of this course on academic writing. I'm Aparna Par and I'm going to follow up on Stephen's lesson on what plagiarism is and why it should be avoided. The focus of our lesson today is on strategies to avoid plagiarism. We're going to start by looking at the basics that are important and then move on to a key strategy called paraphrasing. So let's get started. For a lot of us, note-taking is the first stage. We read a number of books and papers, take many notes before we begin writing our actual text. Now, for a short text like an essay, it is easier to keep track of what are your own ideas and what have you borrowed from others, or where do you use your own words and where are you borrowing others' words. But when it comes to longer texts like a thesis or a dissertation and the number of sources increases, this can get very complicated. My tip here is using in-text citations and quotation marks when using ideas or words of others in your notes. This worked for me when I did my PhD. If you find this cumbersome, use a reference management software like Citavi. Remember, forgetting even one citation can be a huge mistake that can cost you your academic career. Secondly, invest in a good dictionary or a thesaurus. In addition to helping you understand exactly what is said in the original source, you can find different ways of saying the same thing. Experiment using different sentence structures. Combine two simple sentences to form a compound or a complex sentence. Break a long, windy sentence into two shorter ones. You can also change the way information is presented in the sentence. Convert active into passive voice. Or use verbs instead of nouns, or vice versa. This brings us to paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is taking someone else's idea and putting it in your own words. In other words, a paraphrase is an indirect citation. It is important here to understand the original text very well before you begin paraphrasing. Not understanding the original completely is problematic, as you may paraphrase wrongly. Paraphrasing is a two-step process. Let's go through each step with an example. I would like you to pause the video and go through the sentence on the screen. Try and find synonyms for the underlined words or phrases in the context of the sentence. You may want to use a dictionary or a thesaurus for this. Welcome back. Now each of you probably has a different version, and do not worry, there is no one correct answer. Here is a sample answer. I have replaced the underlined words with synonyms of my own. For example, longest controversies has become oldest disputes. A notoriously complex mind-body end product has become a result of a highly complicated psychosomatic interaction. And for genuine biological mechanism, I have used valid biological explanation. The terms placebo effect and medicine are technical in this context, and therefore we do not need to change them. Converting the other words is necessary, and you're halfway there. The sentence structure is still quite similar to the original, so this version is still not plagiarism proof, even though we have changed the words with synonyms. For this, we have a second step, changing sentence structure. You have many options here. You can convert parts of speech into others, nouns into verbs, adjectives into adverbs, etc. Break this long sentence into two shorter ones. Move the order in which the information is presented, or convert active into passive voice. Pause the video and change the sentence structure of the modified version. You may use your own version from step 1. Welcome back. Here is a sample answer. You may have a different one, but as I said, there is no one correct answer. As you can see in the version on the screen, I have replaced one of the oldest with for a long time. I have converted the noun disputes into the verb disputed. Further, I have moved the term placebo effect after the definition and converted the noun phrase has valid biological explanation into a verb phrase by adding the verb to question. The second step ensures that you cannot be accused of plagiarism. Again, as I said earlier, there is no one correct answer. There are, however, many ways to do this. Here is the second option. Finally, avoiding plagiarism is a matter of gaining credibility. Borrowing from others is not wrong. It is in fact an essential part of being a good researcher. Missing citations and/or quotation marks can lead to huge trouble, so avoid plagiarism at all costs. We discussed certain strategies today to avoid plagiarism, both at the note-taking stage, using in-text citation and quotation marks, and also at the writing stage with paraphrasing. I hope this lesson has been helpful. Thank you for your attention and best of luck with your writing.